Hello everyone, and welcome to the May 5th update for Captain Stardust. Today is May 3rd, but I'm going to be going out of town in the next couple of days, so if there are any updates in the near future, then I will catch them up in the next video. This week, so far, we've had 13 commits from 2 different contributors, which brings our lifetime commits to 193 from 9 lifetime contributors, and we just wrapped up week 9 of 21. This week, Andy came in and created a blueprint for all of the carryable items in the world that the player can interact with, and then I went through and cleaned up a shrapnel bug across all 3 islands where either the wrong shrapnel was attached or there were no shrapnel pieces attached to certain buildings. I added a camera zoom and a faster flying speed to the player to make it feel a bit more cinematic when the player is flying around. I also created Mission 0, so we have our first mission done. And then with Victoria's help, our former Unreal trainer, I overhauled the punching system. So let's jump on over to the game here. The player is now going to be starting at the player start location, which is right down here. And when we start the game, we're now going to be launched into Mission 0, which is going to get very annoying when it comes in the near future and I want to test other missions, but right now it works out perfectly well. So here we are seeing the narration that's happening right down here. It's giving the player a bit of a backstory. It also prevented any player movement until you get to a certain point in the narration side of things. In the top right, we have our current objective that we have. So the mission right now is what just happened, and we want to walk up to the plane and press the E key to pick it up. So this is the plane, and I try to put it directly in front of the player's perspective, so that way the player knows that that is the one that they want to. The player cannot pick up any other plane in the scene and have it trigger. This specific plane has a specific tag on it that will allow the player to advance the mission. So if you walk up to it and you press the E key, then you're putting it over your head, and then you trigger the next narration block, and the professor's asking you to transport the plane somewhere else. And in the top right, you can see the explanation of how to pick things up, put them down, as well as how to enter and exit the flight mode. And we're trying to deliver the plane to the waypoint on the map, which is in the lower left. We have the triangle right down there. And then you may have also seen it, that this was part of what Andy worked on, where there are now blueprints for everything that the player can pick up and interact with. So like light poles, street lights, all of those can be knocked out of the way, as well as like these flower pots right down here can be knocked out of the way, and these newsstands can get knocked out of the way. Basically anything interactable can now be moved. So let's see if we can fly here. I tried to pick a building that required the player to fly. So let's see if we can do this here. We need to... Oh, I realized I should probably include shift and control as a way to increase and decrease height when you're flying. But inside of the baseball stadium, you can see that little box in there. So we can go in there. We can end our flight. We can press the E key, and we deliver the plane. It triggers another narration event. And then eventually this will trigger Mission 1. So there you go. The block is gone. The objective box is gone in the top right. And then in the top left, it told the player, like, here's your trigger for Mission 1. But here I also want to look at the camera, where this is the ground mode. And if you're to press space, then the camera zooms in a little bit, and it makes it feel a little bit more dynamic and a little more cinematic. And then we also looked at the punching system. Whoops. So if I were to spawn in an enemy here with the 9 key, I could still cheat with that. Now I can punch these enemies and it will flow all the way through the combat if you do it within a certain period of time. So we can also see that here. So thank you so much for that, Victoria. And I believe that's everything that we have in the game for this week. So if we jump on over to the Vikunja board, we just have this weekly video wrapping up this week. Next week, we're going to get another test build done now that we've started to work in the mission segments. We're going to try to make another mission. We're going to start to create the code for world events, and then continue working on having cars drive on the road. And we also have quite a few audio tasks that are starting to pile up, so if there's anybody that wants to do audio, feel free to jump on in. But I believe that is everything for Captain Stardust for this week. Thanks, everybody.